you're right. All this stuff they've talked about, all the things you said, that's 100% true. And for some reason, they have not. Where is the media on this? And they've completely, I think, dropped the ball on this.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Dale Jackson here with you. Thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate you every single day. And we are thrilled to hear from our next guest, Jacob Morrison. He joins us here on the Alabama A&M $350 million Bulldog Hotline. Yes, Jacob Morrison is here with us, and we are thrilled to have him. He is with the Valley Labor Report. You can hear him 9:30 to 11 right here on WVNN. You know, I told you I was going to ask him about this on Friday. We'll get this quickly. This is our $50 free-for-all Friday question of the day on Friday. Jacob, Bruce Springsteen, the boss, Mr. Union guy. They closed the factory down. I got my union card and a new shirt for my wedding day or some nonsense. I don't know. But either way, he's Mr. Union, Mr. Blue Collar America. And, man, he is running around England right now, running down our president. And some people are very upset about that. I just question this. Shouldn't he be the one guy in pop culture who went from being a sort of a everyman liberal union guy to the Donald Trump supporting union guy? Shouldn't he have been that one guy? Did we miss this?
No, we talked about it in Chattanooga, but we haven't.
Shut
talked
up!
about it.
What are you doing? Do you not understand how the theater of the mind works? What are you doing?
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. No, you're right. No, we haven't talked about it.
Jeez, Jacob.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. So no, I don't think so. Just because, Donald Trump has, in his first term, did a lot of things, that were antagonistic to workers being able to build union power. And they're doing the same thing. This time, and really in an even more aggressive way. I mean, one of the good things that has come out recently, which is just a reversal of one of the bad things, is the rehiring of people on some of the coal miner and firefighter health teams at the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health within
Why did that happen?
HHS. Because of all of the political, stuff like what Bruce Springsteen is doing now. People kind of bringing political pressure to bear on the administration because it was so unpopular. I think that kind of bodes well for the broader project of fighting back against the cuts to federal workers. The entire DOGE project is really unpoper.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that for a second. And they call him the boss for a reason, I guess. He's getting people rehired at the federal government. There was a post on Reddit yesterday that I thought was pretty interesting, and it talked about some RIF and DOGE related cuts. And I was wondering if you've learned anything more about what we've seen at the Arsenal. Because, look, some of the things that I've read is this. You have some people being laid off here and there, but much of the talk is about all the jobs that are coming. You're seeing the FBI stuff, the Space Command stuff. We're waiting on all those things. But apparently there were some RIFs and DOGE-related cuts here recently. Here's the post. It says, this reduction was 100% related to DOGE. The decision was made to cut the workforce by 10%. The contract was terminated due to its expiration of the opportunity for reevaluation. This was essentially a cost-cutting measure. It was not based on performance. And they've got, so there's a couple of things going on there. You hear anything new about layoffs on the Arsenal?
No, I haven't, and that sounds like the way that was worded. It kind of sounds like a contractor. It was like contractor jobs were cut rather than federal workers. So that would be kind of even farther. It's not like our union would be involved in that. So I haven't heard anything else about that. I have still been kind of surprised by how much the Arsenal has been spared from some of this stuff. But probably a lot of it is some of it is going to come almost certainly at some point. And there are, there are hiring freezes at most of the agencies on the Arsenal right now. a team that I used to work at. They're like down to half of the staff that they used to be at because, some people did take the buyout. Some people decided they wanted to go work for a private contractor rather than, deal with all of the, all the changing to, the way that things have worked for a long time. And so the team, a team that I used to be a part of, is significantly, degraded at this point, and they're not able to refill that capacity, and so that's hurting their ability to execute the mission.
Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
Yeah, I think it's 2-to-1 where my wife works. You can hire a new person for every 2 that leave. I think that's what they've been talking. I could be wrong about those numbers, so don't hold me to that. But that's basically the gist of what she's been sharing with me of where that's going. So you have a lot of stuff being talked about in the form of DOGE. But I mean, the DOGE conversation has almost ended completely. Where is Elon Musk? I guess he said he's going to walk back to Tesla. Tesla's stock is blowing up, much to Tim Wall's chagrin at this point. So maybe that's what he's focusing on. You mentioned something in a text message to me. You said there was no fraud at the Social Security office. And there's a story at the Washington Post, I think that's where you got this, that said, the fraudulent claims there was a little overblown. And this is the thing I'm surprised that the media hasn't sort of drilled into. All the talk about 150-year-old this, 100 something like this, which, as I said on this radio show when that was happening, there's a simple way to understand this. Are those checks going out? Are those checks being cashed? Who is cashing them? And why aren't they in jail? If I was a member of the mainstream media, that'd be my question.
Those questions have been asked and answered. I mean, you don't know the answers to those questions?
I mean, the answers are that they didn't exist. I mean, that was a paperwork snafu, and you had a bunch of sloppy paperwork. I mean,
yes, actually, and it's even more nefarious than that. And I want to go through the phone call thing with the Social Security. That's the most recent thing, but just for the 150-year-olds, people in the Social Security system, it runs on an old coding system, and so whenever you don't have a death date or a birth date, you're not sure when this person was born or whatever, you put, that code defaults to a certain date. And so that's where so many of those like really, really old people, quote unquote, come from. And they are in the database, and the Social Security Administration has known about those people in the database forever because the Social Security Administration is constantly getting audited. And so during one of these audits, they came forward and they said, there are 8 million people that are either dead or no longer receiving Social Security payments. You automatically no longer get payments after your 120th birthday. So like that's automatic. That's an automatic cutoff. Even if for some reason there was somebody getting Social Security at 120 and they shouldn't have been because they were dead, then it would stop at 120. But they said, there's some 8 million names or something, however many it was. People aren't receiving Social Security. They're dead. And it would cost this much money to go through and clean up the rolls. And what the administration decided to do was that it would just be more efficient to just let it be. Everybody knows these names are there. Everybody knows where they are. And we know that they're not getting money. And so, we're just going to leave it there instead of undertaking this big mission to clean up to clean up the files.
The big mission of what? Dragging and dropping? I mean, what are we talking about here? I mean, that sounds like the reason why DOGE exists. I mean, that response from the government is like, it'd be harder to clean this up. And you're probably right. I'm not suggesting you're not, but you're probably right. So I think, again, this DOGE... go ahead.
Yeah, well, and then this... Yeah, well, and the DOGE thing that happened most recently was that they went on Fox News. I think his name is Brett Baer, and they said that 40% of the calls into the Social Security Administration are fraudulent, are for making fraud. And so, based on that, they presented it as a fact. But based on that hypothesis, they created this fraud check system that decreased or that increased the amount of time that it took to process retirement claims by 25% for everybody that wanted to make a call into the Social Security Administration, start their retirement process. It increased that by 25%. And so over the course that this fraud check has been in place, there were 110,000 calls that were placed to Social Security, and that system found two calls that had a high probability, not even that they were guaranteed, but had a high probability of being fraudulent. And that was the DOGE check, right? And so now they're rolling this back because they were like, oh, well, look at that. There's actually not fraud. And the people that have been leading this have either been lying maliciously, or they are so misinformed and they have such an inability to perceive the world around them that they are probably a danger to themselves and others. Like,
okay, let's calm down here for a second.
Well, no, I mean, seriously, if you're talking about 40% versus 2 out of 110,000.
Hold on. Listen, I agree with you. I agree with you. The underreporting of the story I found very interesting, because you're right. All this stuff they've talked about, all the things you said, that's 100% true. And for some reason, they have not made. Where is the media on this? I mean, this is gold for them, and they've completely, I think, dropped the ball on this in playing this up as much as you would think they would. They're too worried about it playing out of Qatar or something. So I'm not sure I understand their reasoning, but that's what they're focusing on. So, and you've also may notice this: the comments about DOGE have kind of shifted in their focus. Like, oh no, they're going to help us upgrade our computer system because our computer system across the government's broken, and that will increase efficiency. And so it's again, it's about cutting waste and making government more efficient. The waste stuff seems to be kind of hard to find, with the exception of, and we all knew this was out there, these stupid programs that say, can we turn 7 frogs gay if we spend $10 billion injecting them with, I don't know, dopamine or whatever. And we can go ahead and see that, do that test. And they're like, why are we doing this? And so they cut all that stuff. They cut a bunch of the DEI stuff. They cut all that. They were involved in all of this. So you're seeing a remaking of the government in one way, but the fraud stuff, I think, it may be overblown. So I mean, that may very well be true. The one issue that I think you and I are going to probably disagree with is on this big, beautiful bill. There's the talk of some cuts when it comes to Social Security and stuff like that. It's actually cuts of the agency of Social Security, and then it's a cut to individuals who are able-bodied young people without kids. It cuts to their services as well. But that's probably going to be the next fight over benefits. All right, Jacob, real quick, before I let you go here, you look what's coming up this week on your show.
We are going to be talking to the president of the United Electrical Radio and Machine Workers on the show, and then also talking to, I think, somebody from the executive director of the Working Families Party. So some big guests, and looking forward to talking to them, and talking to a local union official about an election they just won in Virginia.
Who was the who was the Working Party's candidate for president last year?
The Working Families Party did not field a candidate for president. The Working Families Party is the party that works pretty closely with the Democrats, and they run like fusion candidates in New York and I think Wisconsin.
All right, there we go. Jacob Morrison, thank you very much. Appreciate you being here.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.